Hey, there we go.
Hey, Kurt, how you doing today?
Dude, I could not possibly be any better, man. It's like I feel like I'm at Disney today. I'm like a 10-year-old at Disney. That's how good
I know it's exciting times for us on our Wednesday show today, talking about digital marketing success. We're going to be able to talk with John LaRoy here from Apparel Redefined and how he partnered with IMEC for digital marketing success. It is going to be fun today, Kurt, because we get to look at John's journey, talking with customers, talking about, just showing the cool things they're doing and how that has helped them create awesome content and community.
Well, I totally agree, man. And so this is such an honor, such a privilege. John's become just a very close, dear friend. My respect, my admiration. I've been to his facility multiple times. As a matter of fact, he's stuck with me coming out to visit him next Wednesday. I'm going to be back. Tuesday. Tuesday, I'm going to be back hanging out with John. John, you know what? I might drag you on. We might do another live next Tuesday just for the heck of it, right? Yeah. So, all right, we're with John LaRoy from Apparel Redefined in the wonderful city of Chicago. It's a great time of year. This guy is just a killer athlete. And so, you got we're on the cusp of the World Series next week. You got football going on. Chicago Bears are crushing it. John, happy Wednesday. How are you, man? Oh, that's right. You're a Green Bay guy. You're a Green Bay guy. I forgot.
Whoa. Yeah. Just happy to be on with two legends here and talking some shop. But yeah, I'm doing great. I mean, I just got back from Door County, Wisconsin. Had a lovely weekend with the wife and kids up there, up in the Northwoods, and good to be back to get back in the swing of things. But it's always nice to get up there.
Well, wonderful long weekend, and I tell you, the fall foliage is just absolutely amazing. Phenomenal, right, John? How was the drive?
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, these are things like when you're even mid-30s, I didn't really care about. It's like people are like plan their weeks around the colors and what where however far north you are when they start hitting and when the season's over. Yeah. And just taking some time to like step back and I guess look at the trees or look at the leaves. It really is cool and beautiful. But little things like that you don't really appreciate. And we drove up on Thursday, and from Thursday to driving home yesterday, it was a big difference. Maybe 3 or 4 more days up that far north, and then all the leaves are down. It's just 5 short days to see that kind of change. It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, hey, welcome to old guyhood, I guess, Damon.
I know, right? Talking about freaking leaves on trees.
As we get older, I tell you, man, and now that you're pointing it out, I was probably like same age where you're like, man, this is gorgeous. Where's this been all my life? Well, it's been right there the whole time,
Yeah, right.
You're too worried about going somewhere fast at that point.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. So kind of stop, smell the roses, stop and just see the beautiful foliage and all this other stuff. So, John, we're going to dive into, we're talking sports and we're talking business. We're talking Apparel Redefined. So please do me a favor for folks not familiar. Who is Apparel Redefined? How do you and your incredible team make the world a better place?
Yeah. So what we've been talking about a lot is we don't make t-shirts. We make memories, right? We do a lot more than that. But one of the things we talk about with our new internal clients, our employees, is that even though it's manufacturing, there can be some mundaneness to some of the tasks. What you do and what we do matters. You turn on TV on Saturday, you'll see our stuff in college football. You turn on WGN, and you'll see our stuff all over Wrigley Field. Local high schools, colleges, everywhere. You see an athletic event, you'll see our stuff. So one of the things I kind of liken it to is, you're getting called up to varsity as a freshman, sophomore, whatever, and you get that varsity jersey. Now we have a hand in making that lifelong memory, and potentially, people hold on to those jerseys and either clog up your drawers or you get really pissed off at your mom or your girlfriend or your wife when they throw them away. But it's amazing the power and the memory that's attached to a piece of apparel, right? Mm-hmm. So that's in a nutshell what we do, but we help solve the problems of sourcing and executing decorated apparel and promotional items.
Yeah, I love that, John, and we're going to dive into, creating content, how small business owners
Mhm.
could or should be creating content, what it does for your business. And I've had the honor and privilege. You and I have been working together on doing interviews. And Damon, last week, as a matter of fact, we're going to pull up this gentleman's website, this incredible company in Chicago that John provides services for, solutions to. He calls it, it's like a temporary tattoo. You're
Yeah.
going like your favorite band's concert, or an event, a nonprofit, something in memorial to a loved one. Like it's not just a shirt. As John said, he's building memories, man. I'm like, how powerful is that?
Yeah. Awesome.
Hey, we got a few comments here, Damon. We got Shabazz stop by. Says nice conversation. We got a friend here, Sadia, says hello, everyone. We got Samson here saying hi. So, guys, drop us a note. Let us know where you're coming from. Say hello. We want you to love for you to connect with all three of us. Connect with John LaRoy from Apparel Redefined. John, let's go here as we dive into your entrepreneurial company, what you guys do. Just share a little bit on like what's it been for you as an entrepreneur, like going from like different stages, different phases, and then we're going to lead up to today.
Yeah, I mean, starting at 22 and being almost, in this for 18 and a half, 19 years already, there are different progressions through the cycle. I think ours are, and especially in manufacturing, I think it takes longer to go through those cycles. But in the early days, it's still a grind, but it's a different grind, right? I've been fortunate to not be behind a press or an embroidery machine probably in the last 4 or 5 years. Prior to that, it was every day, all day. So the kind of the transition of being in the business to working on the business and developing the leaders around you, really with a focus on leadership. Like, for example, I think I'm going to join this leadership group called Vistage. And actually, it's one of those things that as we continue to grow, developing the leaders, at the next level and the level below that, because I don't have the personal connection that I used to when it was a company of 20 or a company of 30. I'm still involved in the hiring and interviewing, but it is becoming less and less. And not everyone knows the story, right? Anyone that's been hired in the past 6 years sees this current building, which is 10x the size of our old building, so it's like it wasn't always this way, and it's going to get better as well. So understanding like where you came from is really important. So we've done some video with our orientation process to keep people like familiar with our roots and where we came from. And then just the industry changes. It's like I've always said I want to do my part to innovate an archaic industry, and not much has changed, or not up until about 5-6 years ago. Screen printing really hadn't evolved for 70 years. It's like, hey, here's some ink, here's a screen, slap a logo on a t-shirt, and then here comes digital. And everyone has that feeling or that effect that anytime a new technology comes in, it's going to completely disrupt the industry, and screen printing is going to be gone forever, right? And if you're screen printing, you better sell all your equipment because things are going to change. And then that doesn't happen, right? Because even though as the technologies come into our industry finally, there's still a space for the analog ways of doing things. It's just different niches are better served by different decoration types. So us as a contract decorator to be able to provide all the services with consistency and quality in mind and speed is important for our customers and our clients. And 6 years ago, DTF didn't exist. Now it does. Does it going to replace screen printing? No, but is it part of the market and in the future moving forward? 100%. Ecom, Kurt, your forte and your expertise and where you cut your teeth for a while, like that was always going to be the future, but it got accelerated by COVID. So being able to do print on demand for a vertical, for a whole different vertical of customer that we weren't even going after or servicing 2-3 years ago. Now here comes COVID, e-com's exploding, but how do you do just in time inventory for them? Now you could do it at high quality. Before you could do it, but the quality wasn't there. Now the quality's caught up and the speed is getting there. But now you have the technological gap of the software. So our industry is evolving. And I think mainly because of the focus on speed. The Amazon effect is real.
Yeah.
When I first got involved in 2005-06, a 3-week turn time was pretty standard, and the old days of service merchandise where you pick from a catalog, and you go to the store and it comes down the aisle. Those have all been replaced by, hey, ordering from Amazon, get it today. Now, Amazon's not adding customization on a lot of their products. They are doing that soon, but adding customization, especially on athletic apparel, takes time. But I can no longer turn things in 3 weeks. It's got to be a week. So what I'm getting at is the external pressure from doing stuff overseas for quick turn, high quality type stuff is still very leaning towards and will be created domestically. The high volume, low cost type stuff, you need 10,000 t-shirts or 100,000 with the Coke logo on it or something. That's still going to be done overseas, but the quick turn, high customized stuff still needs to be done locally, and even needs to be done closer to the end user or customer. Again, the Amazon effect, where you got that last mile type stuff where we can get the blanks all over the country, but adding that last minute mile value to it is still done very regionally.
Yeah. And it's huge. The Amazon effect hits every industry, right? Okay. And just every one of them's been affected by it. And I agree with you 100%. Your niche is really to go custom, local, quick, great quality. Those kind of things you can do. And that's what people want. From the work that I get to do on Amazon, I can see the difference in 1 day delivery. 1 day delivery faster is huge in the world of e-commerce now. 2 days, 3 days is massive. So if you can go from 3 weeks down to a week, that is a big deal. That is a big deal.
Yeah. And it's all tech. So, I mean, getting through that entrepreneurial journey, right? Like in the weeds for really the first 10 years, right? And then kind of getting to a point of, okay, like, hey, what's next, right? And I had a partner, everything worked out really well. Everything happens for a reason. They were terrific people. But it got to the point where it was like, hey, they're approaching the end of their career. I'm right in the beginning of it. And I am not settling for mediocrity. Like I think we can do better. If I'm committing my life to this, I'm not going at it half-ass. And I don't see a real path for growth the way we are currently doing things. So we're like, we need to develop some type of software tech to fuel our scale, our ability to scale, and our vision, but it wasn't there. There was a lot of stuff off the shelf and off the box type or out of the box type stuff, but it really wasn't geared towards our niche and what we did. So we started developing it ourselves, and that's been a 7-8 year project, and software development never ends. But that was a big turning point for us, where we started seeing some more hockey stick type growth, and allowed us to look for a new building, move into our current space, and now looking to build a new facility soon here and continue the growth.
Nice.
Yeah. I'd tell you, John, it's so inspiring, kind of being on this, not even being on the sidelines, but, just participating and watching this whole journey of yours. Damon, we had a conversation last week, and John, you said something absolutely hysterical. And Damon, we've talked about this dozens of times, as entrepreneurs, you're basically, it's AKA like, I'm just completely unhireable,
Yes.
John dropped that line last week, and I love it. But John, what I love is like I'm going to call it like a confident, humble disruption. Like you're coming into the industry, and I couldn't love the name more. Apparel Redefined, like you are truly redefining the industry. I'm going to show some examples, and Dan, I'm going to pull up one of their clients. We just interviewed this client last week and had a great conversation. But John, just for folks out there, say manufacturers, you always talk about how critical that brand promise is, and why it's not just a T-shirt; it's a memory. It's representing your company. It's representing your quality, like representing that brand promise. Share a little bit about, we're going to go and we're going to talk about Joe at Obvious Shirts in a minute, but just, and I know you and I talk about it a lot week in, week out, but for our folks here that's new to them, what do you mean by that brand promise? What does that mean from a quality apparel standpoint?
Yeah, it's a subliminal messaging that logo's telling you without saying words, right? It's like we talk about the example, if you're going to hike up a mountain in the middle of winter, are you bringing a Coleman jacket, and they do make jackets, or are you bringing a North Face, or you bringing a Patagonia, that type of stuff? If you're going outside and you're, getting in your excavator, your backhoe, are you going to wear a Patagonia, or are you going to wear a Carhartt? It's like there's stuff that inherently tells you what that brand does and promises without any type of words or conveyance, but its consistency over time creates that momentum, right? And, us as kind of small business manufacturers back in the weeds, and not having the marketing budget of a North Face or a Patagonia, what do you do? Do you say what you do? Do you do what you say? Is your team repeating that message? Your boots on the ground, your grassroots efforts, as in political cycle right here, all these buzzwords. Is that message being carried out by your team and then your best customers? And I'm proud to say I think it is. And we do what we say what we do. We're not perfect. Manufacturing, there's a lot of opportunity for mistakes, and it's not if something happens, it's when, and what do you do to make it right for your customers? Because again, like one of the things that we talk about all the time is like, guys, at the end of the day, we're not Merck, we're not Purdue Pharma. I don't have the ability to create or end lives, but you think we would. Friday Night Lights is Friday Night Lights. If you don't have those freaking jerseys there, you might as well be dead, because there's gonna be
a big deal.
An AD and a football coach want to kill you. They don't care who dropped the ball. So I do say we have the ability to end and create life, through a T-shirt. But deadlines are real. Promises are real. If you're going to make that promise, you better deliver on it. And again, that focus intensity over time creates momentum. And then the brand starts speaking for itself. It's not just about John LaRoy. It's not about Nick. It's not about Derek. It's about Apparel Redefined. If they say they're going to do it, they're going to do it. And it doesn't happen overnight. These brands don't become household names overnight unless they have, billions or multi-millions of marketing to do, like a Bird Dogs or these upstart brands, Rowback, that really haven't been along for a long time, but they're able to throw it on a PGA golfer and get eyeballs. And it's another way to do it.
Hey, we've got some comments here, John. So we've got Ibeen, if I'm saying that correctly. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining us here today. Says impressive. Our dear friend Diane Byer says hello and happy Wednesday. Diane, happy Wednesday to you. Please connect with John on LinkedIn. You guys would be great, fast friends. Samson says, do what you say you do. Do what you do what you say. Love it. And he says, thank you, John. So Samson, thank you for dropping a comment. Again, we're here with John LaRoy from Apparel Redefined. Drop those comments in the chat. Let us know what you're out there. Connect with John on LinkedIn. John, we're going to talk about some different, you and I have been doing some wonderful interviews, some powerful conversations we're going to dive into. I want to show one of your clients, because we dove into these guys last week. And so let me pull them up real quick. And they, I want you to talk a little bit about, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, how partnering with people. It takes a village to raise a child, right? They always say it takes a village. Well, it takes a village to raise a business. Aligning with vendors and partners that are going to support you, take you to that next level. I've had the honor and privilege, first of week in, week out, we're interviewing clients of yours that are giving you raving testimonials. They're talking about how they couldn't do this without John and his team. And they're calling out specific people on John's team, how like Derek crushes it. Nick is doing, they're calling out the teammates that are just crushing it. This is an incredible company here, Damon. This is a company that's dedicated to, like, primarily, you talk about niche down till it hurts. They focus on the Cubs. And the guy's name is Joe. It's a brilliant, incredible entrepreneurial success story. John, just talk a little bit about this relationship, and how does Apparel Redefined help small entrepreneurs, give them the ability to scale, to lean on your expertise, your equipment, your overhead, but then I can just be like a fierce marketer. Walk us through that process, and then let's talk a little bit about Joe here at Obvious Threads.
Obvious Shirts, but yeah, it's
Obvious Shirts. Thank you. Yep.
Like, why, again, we'll talk about this in a little bit too, but like your passion, right? It's like, follow your passion, but my passion, I'll get into it in a little bit, but more for Joe's standpoint, a lot of budding entrepreneurs, they try to do it all, right? Where Joe in the beginning was the creative, the marketer, but he was also trying to do the production, right? And there's only a limited amount of time during the day where you can create, you can market, and then you got to go produce. And usually the producing gets kicked to the back, right? It's like, I'll get to it later. And after 10 monsters and 15 coffees, you go try and print shirts at night, and then something happens and you screw up shirts or whatever. And, but it is your baby. And like, one of the things that Joe really talks about is a commitment to quality. He still has customers from, his first iteration of Kyle Schwarber shirts in 2016, 2017, that still have that shirt that he printed, and it's like, that's awesome. That's the best form of marketing and advertising out there. Not only was the design still timeless, but the shirt has held up for 8 years now.
Yeah.
Right? And the print still looks great, and it still washes, and you can wear it once a week. And that in itself is amazing. Right. So what I'm getting at is like, for me, in our space, when I tell people like, hey, what do you do? I'm like, okay, like everyone's bought a car before. So in our example, I'm Ford, I'm the manufacturer. Our customer is the dealership. People don't come to me yet to order an F-150. They go to the dealership. That dealership is our customer. The dealership focuses on the selling. They focus on the marketing. They don't do the doing, right? We exist in the background and do the doing. So everyone that wants to do stuff in terms of apparel, decoration, merch stores, online, and in the corporate world, you want to enhance your brand. The best form of promotion to me is still a t-shirt, and one that you want to wear.
Yeah.
You go to a professional sports game, you see dads drop their babies and people trample over people for a XXX white t-shirt that they're going to throw in the back of their car. It's unbelievable, like the power that a free giveaway t-shirt has. Now imagine if it's done really well, it's got a creative message on there, and it feels really good. And inherently, you go back to your closet and you keep picking out the shirt that feels good, fits good, looks good, and kind of the message on there might be secondary if it fits and it looks really good when you wear it. So we help those people solve those problems that they might be having in terms of production. We partner with a lot of different small businesses that are what we call team dealers in the business, where they might have a small embroidery machine, they might have a small print shop in the back, but we're trying to help them with the technology we've created as the gateway to say, hey, focus on what you do well, focus on the sell, we'll focus on the producing, and we have a relationship, right? Like that's one of the things that like I didn't even know getting into the business that I really do enjoy. It's kind of like for me the last frontiers that exist in relationship-based sales. It's not so much, hey, what have you done for me lately? It's like, hey, what have you done for me over the past 5, 10, 15 years? And these people are friends that we've built because they continue to sell, we continue to do. I hope that answers your question, Kurt.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That was phenomenal. And it was just such a privilege to have a conversation with the owner here on how he was a corporate sales guy, Cubs junkie, and how just like out of just a wicked, great sense of humor, the desire to create a quality t-shirt, and then aligns with John. And what he talks about is like, John, I'm going to be a pain. Like my level of expectation and quality is so high. And so like, and now their team at Apparel Redefined, they actually say like when they ship something out, their quality benchmark is almost like, hey, would Joe at Obvious accept this? Right, John?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. So one of the buzzwords that you hear now, like in a lot of entrepreneur leadership events or stuff like that, like you can fire clients, right? It's like, hey, make sure you find the right client for your business. You don't have to be everything to everybody. And I would caution you there, and I caution people there is like, why aren't they the right client? Are they pushing you in a direction to make you better? Are they having uncomfortable conversations with you because they're unhappy with something and you're just kind of like, you're not right for me. And that's a direction that we could have taken 5 years ago, 6 years ago, because there was a period in time where like everything we're doing there was something wrong. And I'm like, guys, like if we're going to have this vision and this mission and we're going to do what we say and say what we do, we have to be better. We have to be better. We have to take this as a challenge and beat it and exceed it. So it took some time, but there were some things we needed to shore up. And I thank Joe. I mean, Joe, and we talked about it with Kurt. He made us better. And, again, I don't agree with a lot of the mainstream buzzwords that are out there. And we talked about this a lot, Kurt. But, you could be easy to say, like, hey, this guy's not right for me. But really examine it. Why isn't he right? And if it's for the wrong reason or it's an internal problem, you better fix it because someone else will court that client and blow it up. And I just had a feeling, I mean, it hurts me. It really freaking hurts me because I'm a South Sider. And there is nothing to be hopeful, optimistic about anything with the freaking White Sox. And it really pains me. And, I'm like, I really think Joe's got something here. He's got a huge network of a lot of, big names out there that, swear by Joe. Joe has become the major league guy to go build a brand. Like he wasn't trying to build individual player brands, but that's what happened because he does what he says and he says what he does or says what he do. And, he gets shit done, and people are like, hey, if he can do that, he can do it for my personal brand. Because you have so many of these guys that are like fringe or bubble guys. And with the internet, with e-com, if they got a following 10, 15, 20,000 people, they can make a good amount of supplemental income. You can argue whether or not they need it, but hey, set it up, let my sister take care of it, or let my brother take care of it. Next thing you know, they got 1 million followers or selling a couple hundred shirts a day. And it's not hard to do anymore with tech and, having the ability that we have now to do DTG, direct to garment. You don't have to commit to any inventory. The only commitment is your time. Put a shirt up there. If it doesn't sell, no big deal. We don't make any. So it's really like a nice synergy of tech, social media, and equipment where it's all kind of converging in one to make this a reality, where before you'd have a ton of waste. You'd have to print 4, 5, 10,000 of these shirts.
Yeah.
You don't know what sizes, you don't know what colors, you don't know if the design works, but it's stored in a warehouse somewhere in the Midwest, and it only ships when people order it.
Yeah. And John, I'll get this off the screen because I know it's killing you right now looking at this, but I just want to give folks, just from an inspirational standpoint, how many times you sat around and like, hey, gee, I should do this, or, hey, that's a really funny thing. Or, he came up, this was the t-shirt that put his company in a hockey stick, Damon. And 2 months ago, my wife and I were in Canada. We're at Niagara Falls on the Canada side. We're at a steakhouse. The guy sitting next to me is wearing this t-shirt. And this is a t-shirt that blew up Joe's business and what he did. So this, lightning struck. And I guess the point that I want to share here is, like, if you have an entrepreneurial dream, an entrepreneurial itch, multiple things in this process, this is almost like a case study, is like, how do you scale your business? You need to surround yourself. John opened up, he's going to align with Vistage. This, like, I don't know a guy who's like more as CEO of a booming, great company, has such a hunger to learn. That's why he's so successful. Joe is a corporate, he was a sales rep for a software company. Just a bleacher bum, self-professed bleacher bum at a Cubs games. And he came up with these t-shirts and it blows up, but he wanted quality and he stayed in his lane. I'm going to go so niche. I'm not even going to south side of Chicago. I'm just focusing on the north side. So I couldn't love that more. I'm going to grab a couple comments right here. So again, she says, wait, we can't do it all. Yes, your business is your baby. And so Diane says, love it. I can go get into the t-shirt business. Yes, you can, my friend Diane. And John is just a guy to help you. John, I'm going to dive into content. Talk a little bit about Apparel Redefined. Where were you guys from a market? Like, how did you grow the business without a marketing strategy? That's a reasonable question, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, word of mouth, really. And it was kind of taboo, like for us in the back, like imagine back to the Ford example, right? If the plant was making cars for Ford, for Chevy, for Kia, and it's a Ford, but it's made in the same plant as a Chevy, and no one would really be thrilled about that, right? So we're decorating for Under Armour, decorating for Nike, decorating for Adidas, and mainly athletic space. And it was kind of like, you shut up and do your job and don't tell anybody where it's coming from, right? And it was okay, and it's like we didn't really have time to worry about that other stuff. And then COVID hit, right? And no matter how good our relationships were with these companies, if there's no school and no sports, what we thought for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and 3 months, and 8 months, and 12 months, and 18 months, it didn't really matter. There was no buying. So it's like, well, it's not if it happens again, it's when. And we can't just be so tied to one industry. When we have the equipment, we have the people, we can decorate for other niches and industries other than just athletics. So I'm like, okay, great. Hey, we can do it. And then I'm speaking to a room of 0, right? They're like, who knows that we can do that because we've been in the shadows for so long. So it kind of started this journey, how we met Kurt through IMEC, and we hired a lean process consultant to fix some issues on our floor. And then it was like, okay, now we're ready to go to market and let people know. And again, I'm like, who's listening to this message? And it was back up before that. What is the message and who are you speaking to? So I had to get out of my own head. I just actually, with the Vistage guy, Kurt, he's like, your podcast looks great. What's some advice you have from a guy that really wants to start it? I'm like, start it. That's it. Like, in my head, it had to be perfect. I had, looking at Joe Rogan, you look at all these guys that lead this space, and it's like, if it can't look like that, then I'm not going to do it because I don't want it to be crap. And that's in your own head, that's so much positive feedback from what we started doing. I think this is episode 23, 24, whatever we're at, for me. But just getting it going, right? And then doing the steps in sequential order that makes sense, right? So it's like, who are the clients we're going after that are not athletic? What's that look like, right? Okay, so we say, hey, we have this target revenue. What does that person look like? Who is that buyer? If that buyer landed on my old website, they're like, what is this? Who is this guy? I'm not spending this kind of money with them. If they land on my LinkedIn, it didn't look good, right? So we're like, okay, before we even start doing the marketing messaging, let's get the house in order, right? You have the field of dreams, but you got no hotels. So where are people going to stay? Where's the trust? So we started sequentially improving the foundational needs that we needed to be able to go to market. Because if you go, and my thing too is like, my biggest fear is being a hypocrite. And it was like, if we start talking about all this stuff that we can do, but we have no way to really show it, it doesn't convey trust. It doesn't convey, hey, we are the company that can partner with you and help you achieve whatever it is for your brand, for your dream, for your logo, for your, apparel program. So it was a lot of foundational stuff. And we're at the point now, okay, let's start talking about it because that other stuff looks good. And so that's kind of been the marketing journey that we've gone through over the past 18 months or so. Right, Kurt?
It's been a trip, man. It's been a wonderful, phenomenal experience. And so, hey, and we've got a comment here. I'm gonna grab real quick. So Sadia says, "Thanks, valuable information and boosting motivation." Thank you for the comment here.
Yes,
let's go on a little road trip. So, Damon, any comments? I'm gonna pull up a few things.
I think a couple things that John said is really important, and all manufacturers, I think, kind of have gotten lulled into this one time or another. Is we've got a customer base, they're supporting us, and something happens, right? It doesn't matter what you're doing. And a customer changes. And now you're like, and probably you and like many other manufacturers, they don't have thousands of customers. They have a handful or two handfuls of major customers. And when one leaves, it leaves a big hole. 2 or 3 leave, like in your case, it's a huge hole. And you've probably let some of that stuff slide. Your website, your social media, if you're doing any of that. And I really like, how you backed up, built the foundation, and then took off like you did now, because I think that does allow other people to really see what you're doing, because you could have been going for a long time doing content, doing these great interviews that you're doing, and no one would see them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just like, I was always like, hey, we only have X amount of followers. What is that magic number you need to get to followers so we actually have an audience to talk to? And it was always like, well, once I get that number, then we'll start. But it's like, it's not going to just happen.
No.
you have to get going and do something. And it stopped being the best kept secret, right, Kurt? So, it's more getting out of your own head. I never really thought I'd be into this weekly cadence of talking. But yeah, it's really enjoyable. And it takes some of, I don't want to say the pressure, but it's not all about me, right? Every week it's a guest, and we're letting that guest talk about their business and their journey of how they got to where they are. And it's really been an organic, there's not a ton of preparation involved. It's really just having a conversation. And the people that we invite on like to talk, Kurt. So
Oh my gosh.
it goes well.
So just, let me show you this real quick. So so this gentleman right here, Damon, I want to share. John, you brought this up earlier and you made me think of Chris. So this guy, entrepreneur, business background, and goes all in. And he really emphasized that brand promise, didn't he, John? And just, and I'll tell you, and I hope I have this one straight. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. I'm pretty sure it was Chris. He shares how when he got started, there was 1,000 shirt mix up. Right, John? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
There was 1,000 shirt mix up. You know what he did, Damon? He ate it. He told the customer, it's on me. He's like, I'm not going to sit here. Like, nobody's going to win to say, like, whose fault it is. Misspelled, my name.
Take care of it, move forward.
Right?
Yep.
He ate it. And, right, John, wasn't that Chris? Do you remember that conversation?
Chris.
So, these, man, I just get all worked up. I just get so excited. You know what? I'm not even sharing the right screen. Here's Chris. Let me get. I changed screens on you guys. Hey, here we go. Let's go.
When it's an opportunity when you're able to interview and talk to people like this. You share some of these awesome stories that are happening around us every day that we don't even know about. Right? Not very few people will hear this, but you're helping people get this out to the world, John, and really show some great examples.
And when you think about the humility and the commitment to customer success that you're willing to eat, put that number and think about that, right? 1,000 t-shirts. This interview was the gentleman that owns Obvious Shirts. Let's go here. Let's go. No, I'm sorry. I got the wrong one. I want to show this one right here. This is Chad McLean. John, just share a little bit about, let me share this tab. Here we go. Share a little bit about this conversation here with Chad.
Yeah, probably our most powerful conversation. I have a huge reverence for the military community. We use a lot from Navy SEAL Jocko Willink and his leadership, essentially library. He's got 3 or 4 books on leadership, so we do a lot of that internally. And getting the opportunity to meet Chad and what he's doing for the military community that suffers with PTSD. So he's into holistic medicine, psychedelic treatments with multiple different avenues, and DMT, all psychedelics, all types of stuff that have been shown very, very effective in helping a lot of these guys finally deal with a lot of the trauma or the addiction that really holds them back. Because there's not a lot of help out there, even though we hear about programs, we hear this, there's a lot of struggle. It destroys families, destroys lives. There's a lot of people, struggling with severe depression and take their own lives. So he's trying to help veterans one t-shirt at a time, right? So a lot of his proceeds go back to the community to get them psychedelic treatment, to explore alternative methods because other stuff hasn't worked. But yeah, just a truly powerful story. He was on a training mission. He was Green Beret, and they were going out of an airplane. And when he opened, there was another parachute underneath him. Stepped on that parachute. Could be 50, 100 feet up in the air. Could be 20. He didn't really know, but blacked out. But when we woke up, he was in the emergency room and really messed up his back severely for years. So struggled with addiction. But just his journey was amazing of getting through and getting over the addiction. And now understanding like how he can have a hand in changing thousands of lives through apparel, to make the money to be able to send a lot of these veterans that can't afford it to treatment. So super powerful.
Very powerful. And what he's rebounded his life completely. Great episode. You need to go listen to it. Shares a very powerful story on how he suffered from PTSD and now selling apparel, as his mission and his cause. And again, conversation after conversation, this gentleman over here to the right, if you see my mouse right there, this guy is general manager of a minor league baseball team right near John, super passionate for the area, leans on John for all of his apparel needs, and again, like you talk about that brand promise, like, kids are in the community at the grocery store, at the, riding their bikes. wearing that local, baseball team. Very powerful there. And again, just more examples I'll show you down here. There's our wonderful Jacqueline. This gentleman here, Rockland, super inspiring, what he's got going on. Here's John at a trade show. Here's John goes out. John, talk a little bit about Patrick. You go down to Morris, Illinois to visit him on site.
Yeah. Patrick, really interesting story. He's helped build brands like Peter Millar, Ralph Lauren, a couple other big golf brands, and he's always wanted to do his own. And finally, after I think 12, 13 years of building other people's brands, he's like, screw it. I'm going to build my own brand, because he's got a lot of the design and skill set. His designs are beautiful. And like his goal is to be in like the top 100 premier golf courses across the United States with his own brand. I think as of this fall, he's in 25 or 26 of them. So he's well on his way in only 2 years. But really like super passionate and really has a deep understanding for manufacturing at the thread level of what the premium feel and look is, especially in the golf niche. And I mean, what's really cool is like in his shop, there's no picture here, but all the elite golf courses that he's in, he's got a pin flag, and he's got room for 100, and he's got 24 of them up right now. And it's really cool. And that's a really hyper competitive market, and you get one shot. And if you screw up delivering to Augusta, not only will it be bad for you, it'll be bad for the future, because all of those clubhouse managers talk and they won't have good things to say. And no one wants to be the guy be like, hey, I'll give him another shot. You don't get another shot. So it's really, really imperative to, again, do what you say and say what you do.
Yeah, I tell you, John, this is phenomenal. I'm going to change gears here. Let's see. Let's share this tab. So here's your YouTube channel. So again, now we're talking about like this is collaborative content strategy, and what John's doing is he's teaming up with us. Damon, we always call those soulmates, right? So it's either customers, referral partners, vendors. John was on the show before, and I was actually on site, and we were showing off his wonderful piece of machinery called the Rock.
Yep, I remember that.
Remember that? It's like the Ferrari. But when you go down here, you like take a look at some of his videos. Like here, unleash your potential. 500 views. And again, like here's a guy that just started out. You go, on YouTube Shorts. And, building trust with business, 500 views. This one's got over 1,000. He's got a new marketer on his team who's doing some really fun, innovative things. And so, like, again, he's dedicated himself to, stop being the best kept secret, getting that message out on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, meeting his clients where they are to let them know, like, hey, there's a better way. Instead of you doing all the processing yourself, hey, let's partner up and you can scale your business and take it to the next level. So John, the power of these conversations, like, a lot of these guys you've known for many years. I mean, how would you describe, like, when we get on an interview, like, I just feel like it takes the relationship to a whole different level. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of these people that we've talked to, there's probably a handful that have done it before in a different setting, right? But a lot of them, it's their first time. So they don't really know like what the angle is, and then I think once they kind of get in and they start talking with Kurt and they get, they put their guard down a little bit. It's easy to share some war stories and some successes, and, people like talking about themselves. So it just kind of starts to become natural. And Kurt does such an amazing job of making people feel comfortable and just kind of telling their story. But it does take the relationship to a next level, because I think that there's nothing salesy. I'm not, hey, after this call, I need you to buy this or do that. It's more, hey, you come on, talk about you. Hopefully this helps your business. And if it helps your business, it will help mine, but there's no real commitment or strings attached like that. Yeah. And I think people realize that once they come on, and they like telling their story. And hopefully it's a motivation for them to either start marketing or build on whatever they're doing, use this piece of content.
Yeah, absolutely. It's helping your customer better themselves, better their business, get their story out. But, in the same time, John, we weren't teeing it up for this. you consistently get just raving testimonials on how awesome your team is, how you've helped take their business to the next level. A couple of comments we've got. Hey, Julie says, that's wonderful. Julie, thank you for dropping a note here. Nagir says, hey, nice conversation. Thank you for joining us. Again, drop us a note. Let us know you're out there. We got John LaRoy here. We're going to start winding things down. Damon, your thoughts from this collaborative, what you're seeing with John. You've been on the show with John. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity, and you've walked into it, done the appropriate back work to really get prepared, your company prepared, so when people come, they can tell what you guys do. But then from there on out, it's cool watching you enjoy yourself talking to these people, having these conversations, because it's a completely different way, I believe, from a standpoint of getting your brand out there and becoming known in the industry without dropping $10 million on Google ads and banners and everything else, but in a way that really connects with people. Because you talk about the powerful conversations you've had, those, you can't buy that with a Google ad. You can't buy that with a, some other thing, just a promotion of some sort. It's about building real community and connection across all these awesome people, and you have done awesome work for them, or will do awesome work for them in the future. It's so much better. I look at this kind of business community building, business development, whatever the heck you want to call it, and I just think it feels better. It's not like, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I get to be able to interview somebody, I just think it's fun talking to them and learning from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the only thing.
Yeah. Well, it's not like slimy. You don't feel like
no.
Yeah.
It totally flips the script. And hey, Diane says, really appreciate this discussion today.
Thanks,
Diane, we appreciate you.
Yep.
We appreciate John LaRoy being here.
Yeah,
John, as we start winding down, so you and I are connected from our friends at IMEC. IMEC is the Illinois Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Damon, we are always promoting MEPs on our show. As a matter of fact, we have the director of the entire MEP network on our live show this coming Monday, John. So we're super thrilled about that. Your experience of working with IMEC, what would you, your thoughts, your experience, would you recommend our friends at IMEC to your family, your friends, your dog? What are your thoughts about your experience working with IMEC?
I don't have a dog, but I do have chickens, so I recommend my chickens. But it's one of those things that, especially, again, not to get political, but in the political season, you hear about like, hey, I'm doing this for small business. I'm doing this for small business. And it's great to hear it, but how do you access it? And what does the program mean for me? And once I, started digging through some stuff and found the resources, got involved, had the conversations. Dave Musgrave's been great. He's been out here several times. Jacqueline's been phenomenal. But this is an organization that is truly there to help, right? And almost at the juxtaposed to what's going on in the county and other avenues, they are truly there with a focus on manufacturing to help manufacturers stop being the best kept secret, or get more focused on lean, embrace automation. There's a whole different slew of programs in our co-op in Cook County that is great. And here's the thing, we're paying for it, right? Payroll tax, property tax, every freaking tax you could possibly pay for. So go use it and utilize it, because someone will, right? And eventually, they could be your competitor. So, it's like, hey, if the programs are out there, they don't have, a lot of ways to. I think IMEC's done a better job of, letting people know what they do and how they do that. But again, it's up to us as an owner or operator or whatever to go in, invest the time, talk to people, and really take advantage of the program that's out there.
Yeah, John, I couldn't agree more. And so again, thank you for first off, thank you for joining us. Diane Byer says, "Hey, we love our friends at IMEC," and she says, "For those who don't know IMEC, Illinois Manufacturing Excellence Center, Illinois MEP." Diane, thank you so much for making that distinction. We appreciate that. And so again, big shout out to Dave Belay, Jacqueline, Dave Musgrave, everybody at the team for just really passionately dedicating themselves to helping, our manufacturers, throughout the country, and in John's case here in Illinois and in the wonderful city of Chicago. John, we're going to wind down, dude. I appreciate you, applaud you, commend you. Just love our friendship, love what we're doing together. I'm going to be on site. You're stuck with me next Tuesday, dude. So get a good night's sleep, right, Damon? He needs a good night's sleep.
Yeah. Probably.
He probably does. So, John, any parting words of wisdom as we want to close out today? How can folks find you?
Apparel Redefined, the website. I'm there. I'm on LinkedIn, John LaRoy on LinkedIn, Facebook. I think we're on Twitter. But or just email me. My email we'll put down below, john.laroy@apparelredefined.com. Mm-hmm. And I guess just a final thought, kind of the OG for me in this space that I really admire, and he self-admittedly is not a blue-collar guy. He's an opera singer. I'm talking about Mike Rowe. I think probably the most recognizable voice in all podcasting. He had a guy on, and I've got to look over here. I got to cheat. The company's name is Groundworks, and I listened on the way up to Door County this weekend, and my great-grandfather was like a master craftsman. He was born 1900. He died 2000. So he lived 100 years, and all the stuff that happened in 100 years. And I was so fortunate to live. He lived with us, my whole life until he passed. But I always had, he started working at 6 years old as a bricklayer, and then he was too young for World War II, or too young for World War I, too old for World War II. So he missed all that stuff, but he always did stuff with his hands. And, people ask, like, what is your passion? What do you do? And it's like, for me, it's like restoring manufacturing greatness to America and pride, and Mike Rowe's done an amazing job bringing focus to the blue collar work, and this that actually matters. When we talk about, hey, who is essential? It was all the people that got shit done, right? Yeah. And we just make T-shirts. We're not plumbers. We're not electricians. But everyone wears clothes. And, unless we move to a nudist colony or society, you're still going to need to wear clothes. And based on the health of America, I don't think that's a good idea right now. But anyhow, listening to Mike Rowe's conversation with this guy, who just changed the lives of over 5,000 people that he has employed, because he turned it into employee-owned, and instantly, I think over 300-400 people became mega millionaires, and even more in that are millionaires. He didn't need to do that. And learning like his bootstrap, I mean, he had to go back and live in his mom's basement. And he's like, I know nothing about waterproofing, raising homes, nothing. But he's like, I wanted to get into something that actually changed people's lives and put a better spin on a dirty industry. And I'm like, this guy is speaking my language. And there's so many out there. Like, someone comes in your home, you think they're scamming you. They think you're jobbing them. Hey, it's kind of like bringing your car, or your wife brings a car to a mechanic. And he's like, we need to change that perception of the industry. And he's like, and if we do it right, we're never going to have this customer again. So it's challenging. And how do you create that value? But it was like, I listened to it and I got so much out of that. And now it's like, it remotivates me to be like, hey, I want to be able to do this. Making T-shirts is great, but if it's an ends to the mean of my vision to bring unbelievable value to my employees and to my clients, and change lives, and this is the vehicle that I'm driving to get there, and so be it. And I'm not going to stop. All gas, no effing brake, as our coach Matt LaFleur likes to say. So sorry, it was a long last thought, but it was really powerful. 2-3 hour podcast, and it goes by like this when you're really kind of locked in.
Yeah, awesome.
Dude, that and Damon, that's your hero right there, Mike Rowe.
yeah.
That you're speaking Damon's
Yep.
love language right there, John. So
Yep.
and Diane says, make it an awesome day, wonderful week. Thank you so much. Thank you, Diane. Sadir is giving a round of applause. And so we appreciate that. John, dude, drop the mic. That was in fact, Damon, that's gonna be our little that's gonna be our little YouTube clip on our end. And Teresa will be pulling that out. So that was phenomenal. Okay. We're going to wind down, close out the day, get everybody on with their day for whatever they've got going. So, John, we thank you. We applaud you. We commend you. Appreciate you. I get to see you on Tuesday, my friend. Hang out with us for 1 second. We're going to close out. Damon, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for everybody in the chat box. We appreciate the comments. If you're catching this on replay, please connect with John on LinkedIn. Go to Apparel Redefined. There's all sorts. As a matter of fact, he's got a really cool video right on the website. Our buddy Jason put it up there. So check that out. All right, guys. We'll see you soon.
Have a great